This is Prepper Nation. I am John. Thank you very much for being here, shooting a thumbs up, hitting subscribe, and also Gary Seats, aka Vegas Prepper One. Thank you very much for sponsoring the Mean Bean this morning. Appreciate that, brother. So let's get right into it. Food shortages have returned. Famine is here. Um, I don't know. It's like an annual event. It's kind of like St. Patrick's Day or Valentine's Day. There's like one day or 1 week a year where everybody in this community, for whatever reason, thinks we're gonna run out of food here in the United States of America. Let me ask you in chat real quick before we move forward. You can be honest, you cannot answer, whatever. Do you honestly believe that in 2024, we're going to run out of food here in the United States of America? I'll give you a second to answer that question. All right, pay attention. Look at this ugly mug. You ready? No, we're not gonna run out of food here in 2024. Sorry, folks. Has famine ever happened here in the United States of America? Yes, kind of, sort of. It is few and far between the events of famine, and they are very, very regionalized. The Dust Bowl comes to mind. I think back in the 1930s, I think it was 1,000 plus people that dealt with famine at that time. But we live in a far different country now. The United States, as we've talked about, son, in the past, the United States is not the same country that it was back in the 1930s, back in the 1950s. We have changed drastically, excuse me. So the United States, like it or not, folks, if you're listening abroad, we are the most influential country in the world. I'm not saying this will always be the case, but as I film this, we are the most influential country in the world, which means if there's a global famine, it does not equal you not eating here in the United States of America. There will be countries that deal with famine. Quite frankly, I think Ukraine this winter may begin to see some famine-like events unless other countries pitch in and they send stuff. But anyway, I digress. The point is $2.5 billion annually is spent by the United States importing stuff. All right, that's a lot of stuff that's imported, and much of that is food. Okay, so if there's a shortage of food globally, and I think we saw some of this during the C-19, you have a bidding war between countries, your more influential countries, your United States, your Canada, your Great Britain, your France, your Germany, your Australia. They're not going to do without food. They have the money to bid, they have the money to get the food there. The third world countries, those are the ones that do not have that kind of influence. They do not have that kind of money. Their people are going to be dealing with famine. Not here in the United States of America. I know it's scary to talk about, and everybody likes to get scared every so often. It's the prepping community sometimes like a theme park. You know what I mean? People just get on that ride for 5 minutes because they want to come close to the edge. They want to believe it's going to happen, but listen, it's not going to happen in 2024. Again, a worldwide food shortage does not equal famine here in America. It just doesn't. What it does equal is severe food inflation. Let me see if I can hit it here, son. Close. Close, close, close. So me personally, I have lived through, let me see here, the Gulf War, Y2K, 9/11, the Great Recession. I believe that was back in 2008. Of course, the C-19. Many of you have lived through other events as well. Um, But not once can I remember the food running out. Sit down for a second if you're not already sitting down, think about that. Not one time can I remember the food running out. I can remember hard limits on certain things. I can remember gas running out periodically under Obama, just saying. I can remember, gas, being not necessarily being rationed, but being limited. To me, it's one and the same, but not once has the food run out. Now, you may go into stores, and this was certainly the case during the pandemic, and there will be empty spots on the shelf. Maybe you and yours prefer a certain brand name. That brand name is not there, of course. This happens, this just happens sometimes, especially when there's a big event or a shortage or a breakdown in transportation or stuff like this. Certain brands will be missing, and there's certainly higher prices to be paid right now. I posted, not to get off too much on a tangent, but I posted a picture from a local food line the other day in the community section. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. I believe it was over here, maybe in Patreon. I think it was here though. 79 cents a pack for the ramen noodles. Um, and people are like, "Oh man, that's disgusting. How could you buy that? It's a terrible prep food. Look at the nutritional value. Look, son, I didn't buy any. We've had it for years here. This was just me saying to the folks that deny food inflation, you food inflation deniers, 79 cents is not normal. Okay, this was not at a 7-Eleven that I was taking this picture, and it wasn't just one variety, the entire shelf. That's on me. I should have taken a bigger picture and showed it, folks, they're all 79 cents in some of the stores here. Some of them they're a little bit cheaper, but still cost way more. But the point is, if there is one this morning, hey, I'm being honest. You can't focus on what's important until you dump this annual boogeyman. You know what I'm saying? When you go back in your bedroom or when you're going to bed tonight, get up under the bed with the flashlight, reach up under there. Don't be scared of this topic famine in the United States, food shortage in the United States, right? We've heard a lot about it. Reach up under there. And if it's up under your bed, pull it out and you'll realize how scrawny it is and what little of a thread it is. It's a bag of bones here, son. No pun intended. Now, plant based food, it's going to continue to replace the food that you and I want. This is not going away. Plant based, Beyond Meat, this sort of stuff is replacing cereal now. It's replacing stuff in the frozen section. It's replacing beef jerkies and things. I mean, we're going to continue to see this, I think, until I know this is a high number, but I think anywhere from 75 to 90% of what we see in grocery stores at some point is going to be plant-based or somewhere, something similar to plant-based. And you're going to pay for the privilege for that, right? You're not going to starve. You're just going to eat what they want you to eat. You understand? This is the plan. The plan, as many of you have said in chat, it amazes me. People will say within the same chat, within the same hour-long live stream or whatever, control the food, control the people, which I totally agree with. And a food shortage famine is coming. Pick a lane. You've got to pick one or the other. You can't control the food, control the people if there is no food. They're not going to run out of food. They're just going to lock it down and keep control over it and transition it over to this plant-based nightmare. I would argue this morning. But let's be honest. Let's be totally honest here, okay? If famine ever strikes the United States nationally, I'm talking about widespread from coast to coast, food ain't going to be your number one concern anyway, because you're a prepper and you should already have a lot of food, right? This is one of the staples that you should be stacking from the jump. Other things are going to be affecting you. People trying to break into your home and take your food. Your inability to go out because it's not safe. We were just talking last week about total breakdown across this country, what that would look like. Some people were saying within 72 hours, total chaos. Some people were saying, hey, man, within, 48 hours, within a week, within 10 days, and predictions are all over the place on that. But the point is, food ain't going to be your number one issue as a prepper. If we see a breakdown like that, we are talking about Mad Max and potentially a country collapsing. You know what I'm saying? If we run out of food, if we get to a point where they don't even have plant-based food and the government can't get FEMA in, they can't get the UN in to help, this government is over at that point. And you're going to have bigger fish to fry, pun intended on that one, by the way. Um, so there's no need to overthink this. There's no need to check in every 2 or 3 months again, like a theme park and scare yourself for no reason. Alright, this is you should be prepping food anyway. You should be preserving food, um, which means canning and dehydrating and growing food if you have the ability to do so. If you have a little bit of soil or even a little bit of sunlight, you can do, small scale stuff in buckets. It should be more about what you can afford to stack food wise. I'm going to leave you with this thought because I'm a huge fan of stacking canned food, stacking what you can afford. Some people can afford to stack MREs to the rafter. I've got a few, but I can't afford to stack those to the rafter. Lux baked beans, hey, I could stack them to the rafter and then some, son. Survival food, and I looked for here's the thought to leave y'all with. I looked for the 2023 number, but I think where it just became 2024, that number's not out there yet. So I have to roll with the official number from 2022. The survival food industry, and I'm not picking on any company specifically. I'm talking about ReadyWise, Four Patriots, all of them, right? They made 5.89 billion with a B dollars in 2022. That's a lot of money. There's a big market there, okay? So I'll leave you with this, and I'm going to ask you this as I close down. Do you think the CEOs of those companies wake up every morning, tune right into the news? Do you think they're laying in bed at night, worried to death about famine, worried to death about stuff like this? No. You know what they are spending their time doing? Enjoying life, enjoying life. And I've talked to a couple of the CEOs from these companies. They're not bad people. They're good businessmen, the ones I've talked to, and they're preppers, quite frankly. So, but they prep with purpose. They don't prep with panic. And there's a market for survival food, and there should be a market for survival food. I think it's a great product, but it's not something that you have to understand. We're constantly talking about here at Prepper Nation, create the problem, introduce the solution. That's the blueprint. Here's the problem, here's the solution. You have to understand and you have to at some point critically think about it. If you're watching a video somewhere, again, not picking on anybody, everybody's got a right to do whatever they want to do. But if you're watching a video and 30 minutes of that video is meant to scare the daylights out of you, to present a problem, and the last 15 minutes is a sales pitch to sell you the solution. And we've heard that famine is coming. We heard it in 2023, 2022, 2021, 2020, all the way back that I can remember Y2K, maybe even before then. Some point, you got to realize that you're a mark if you're still biting on this. Okay. The food is not going to run out. Your preferred food, your preferred brands, your ability to buy food, okay, that may run out at some point. All right. But you can still grow it. You can preserve it now. You can stack it now before it doubles in price again this year. Just my thoughts. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. Take care. God bless.